Today, we know California as a land of vast coastlines, diverse cities, and mountains stretching along the western United States. But did you know that for over a century, maps showed California as an island? Yes, an island. So why exactly did map makers once believe that California was surrounded by water? The story starts in the early 16th century. Spanish explorers arrived along the western shores of North America, mapping the regions as they went. But back then, maps were largely based on stories, guesswork, and sometimes a little wishful thinking. Explorers were constantly piecing together fragments of information, and one of those fragments turned out to be a big mistake. When Spanish explorers reached the Baja California Peninsula, they faced a bit of a dilemma. The land stretched down along the Pacific Ocean, but the Sea of Cortez separated it from mainland Mexico. Because of the lack of accurate exploration around the northern reaches, early cartographers guessed wrong. They assumed Baja California was just part of a much larger island. This idea of California as an island really took off after a 1622 report by a Spanish explorer named Father Antonio de la Ascension, who declared California to be separated from the continent by water. In 1622, map makers began drawing California as a massive island, complete with exotic labels and coastlines. Over the next several decades, many of Europe's most influential cartographers, like the Dutch cartographer Henricus Hondius, printed California as an island on their maps, giving the myth a long-lasting legacy. Now, you might wonder, once explorers figured out the truth, wouldn't map makers have fixed it? Well, not quite. Correcting maps was no small task. For years, misinformation spread through copy after copy after copy, as one cartographer would base their map on another's work. Even when explorers confirmed California was a peninsula, the island myth was so ingrained in Europe that some cartographers kept publishing it that way until the mid-1700s. By the mid-18th century, explorers had conclusively mapped the coastline of California, and maps started showing California as part of mainland North America. Yet, it wasn't until King Ferdinand VI of Spain issued a royal decree in 1747 stating that California is not an island that map makers around the world finally started updating their maps. Even today, the island of California myth lives on as a fascinating example of how exploration, myths, and human error can shape our understanding of the world. You can still find antique maps that display this island version of California, prized by collectors as relics of this unusual chapter in cartography. History is full of stories just like this: unexpected mistakes, wild tales, and the slow journey to the truth. So next time you look at a map, remember that every line and every label has a story behind it. And sometimes that story is a little stranger than you'd think. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to dive into more historical mysteries.